of kings, better than diamond rings. Football,
Wildcats,
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 football,
Wildcats.
football.
Welcome to the Married with Picks podcast, season 3, episode 15, week 15. So remember, if you're watching, like, subscribe, feel free to leave a comment. All right, Steve, so we have a full slate here, 15 games to talk about, so let's get into it. First game up is the Indianapolis Colts at the Miami Vikings. This is one of the 3 games on Saturday. So we saw the Colts get pummeled by the Cowboys before their bye week last week. Minnesota lost a division game to the Detroit Lions last week, making them 10-3 on the season. I don't have a whole lot to say about this. I just think the Vikings are the better team. The line is at -3.5 in favor of the Vikings, and they would be my pick.
Is this game in Indianapolis or Miami?
Did I say Miami?
He said Miami Vikings.
Did I? Okay. Well,
that doesn't start off well. Anyway, moving right along. Minnesota 7-0 against the spread in their last 7 versus the AFC. I'm taking Minnesota. I think this is a bounce back game from last week.
All right, so we're on the same side of that one. All right, so the next game up is the Baltimore Ravens at the Cleveland Browns. This is a division game. Lamar Jackson will be out again this week. Tyler Huntley has cleared concussion protocol, so he will be the starting quarterback for the Ravens. We have Deshaun Watson again for the Cleveland Browns. Didn't play very well last week either. Ravens are 5-2 against the Browns since 2019, and since Stefanski took over the head coaching job for the Browns, they are 5-1. So I'm going to go with the Ravens. This line is currently at -2.5 in favor of the Browns.
Yeah, I'm looking at, I've been on the Ravens the last couple of weeks, especially last week, big time against Pittsburgh. But, you're going on the road again for another division rival against the Cleveland Browns. And Cleveland hasn't looked that great, but they did win last week. They're playing against a bad team. They didn't win last week?
No, they played the Bengals last week.
Who did they play the week before that? It was
Texans.
Houston. That's what I was thinking. They were playing Houston last week. So Deshaun has won a game. I think this is a game where Baltimore, the ebbs and flows of the season. This is a 3-point game.
2.5.
It's 2.5 point line. I think Cleveland wins by at least 3. So I would take Cleveland here. Baltimore, one not even big hit away from Anthony Brown, the undrafted free agent out of Oregon, being the quarterback. They just promoted him from the practice squad this week. He did play a little bit last week after he got hurt, but with no Lamar Jackson, that's probably where this game is headed, is for Anthony Brown. So know that if you're going to take the Ravens, that's why I like Cleveland. Huntley's, coming off the concussion. It's not going to take much of a hit to put him back on the sideline.
Do you frequently evaluate games based on who the backup quarterback's going to be?
Yeah, well, I think that they're in trouble if he's in the game.
Well,
not to be able to move the ball. So that's why I like Cleveland.
All right.
They're playing at home. I think it's a tall order for a team like the Ravens without their starting quarterback to go into division games.
Okay. Well, I don't think that Tyler Huntley is much of a step down for them. He's played before and he's proved himself capable.
I took him last week, so I know all about Huntley. I really like him. But I just think this is the spot, the ebbs and flow of the season. This is because I like Huntley. Okay. I don't think he's going to make it through the game.
Okay.
I don't like Anthony Brown.
All right. You're entitled to your opinion. All right.
You want to bet on that one?
No, I don't.
Okay.
All right. So next game up is the Miami Dolphins. This is the Saturday night game at the Buffalo Bills. The line is currently at -7 in favor of Buffalo. These teams played back in week 3. It is a division game. Miami won that game, but Buffalo pretty much dominated time of possession and a lot of the stats that you would look at. It was kind of the opposite of what this game is going to be. It was super hot down there in Miami at the time. This game is going to be in Buffalo. It's going to be cold. There is snow in the forecast over the weekend. Whether it's actually going to be snowing during the game, I don't know. But it's definitely going to be cold. We have Tua, who's not necessarily used to the weather. The last couple weeks, he has struggled against San Francisco and last week against the Chargers. I think that Buffalo is smart enough to watch the tape and see what San Francisco did to the receivers. And I think they can do the same. I also think that these two bad games for Tua have him a little bit rattled. I saw it at 7.5 earlier. It's down to 7. So this is probably my favorite game of the week. And I'm going to go with the Bills here. What do you got?
Well, just looking at the hourly, it doesn't really show that it's going to be snowing in Buffalo, but there is a lake effect warning. They're talking about snow.
They're basically
until
saying
1 o'clock on the 18th.
Yeah, it's going to start snowing.
Which is Sunday.
Yeah, like all weekend.
Yeah,
but it's the lake effect stuff, so it's not.
Yeah, so that's where it worries me. If they're not showing on the hourly that it's snowing, it doesn't mean that it's not going to snow there, because the way Buffalo works is half the town could be under snow and the other half, doesn't gets about half of an inch.
Well, it's definitely going to be cold.
Yeah.
And you have Miami. Tua's from Hawaii. There's been a lot of play in the media about it. And the coach has them practicing in their indoor facility with the air conditioner turned down as low as it will go, which I don't think is anywhere close to as cold as it's going to be in Buffalo, New York on Saturday night. So
you make a lot of good points, Jaclyn. I mean, after the Bills lost 2 in a row to the Jets and the Vikings, mid-season, they're hard charging towards the playoffs with 4 wins in a row. So last week, they beat a good Jets team that gave them problems, like you mentioned earlier, on the road in New York, and actually lost to them. So, after they lost to the Vikings, the week after they lost to the Jets, they've been rolling. So I like Buffalo in this game, especially with the conditions are, suspect at best for a team coming from Miami, Florida.
All right. So you like Buffalo at 7?
Yeah, Miami, just as another side note, Miami's 3-4 on the road this year. Buffalo's 5-1 at home. So, strong matchup for the home team, Buffalo. I think, they'll make a move and cover the spread here. 7 points.
Yeah. All right. Next game is the Detroit Lions at the New York Jets. It's at -1.5 in favor of the Jets. Is that still right?
I think so.
So we've seen the Lions, according to FanDuel right now, it's -1 in favor of Detroit.
Oh, really?
So
I see Bet Rivers and FanDuel has -1, but the others are slow to react. They're -1
so I
in favor
assume
of the Jets.
this, because I was totally prepared to take the Jets here, and then this afternoon I heard that Mike White has not been cleared and will not be cleared by the doctors to play on Sunday. So it will be Zach Wilson at quarterback. So I assume that's the reason for the change in the line.
Nobody trusts Zach.
Well, the Jets actually won more games with Wilson at quarterback. While Mike White was quarterback, they went 1-2. But I would prefer to see Mike White in there. But
This could be a situation where Zach Wilson, kind of redemption song, not thinking that he's going to get a chance to start the rest of the season based off of the laissez-faire attitude that he had in taking no blame for any of the mistakes that he made. So I'm looking really for Zach Wilson. He's a top, was he a 3rd overall pick of the draft when he came out? If this guy is worth his weight at all, has any heart, he's going to get back in here and really look to do well. And I think that
you would think all those
Detroit's
things,
playing well,
but I don't know with him if that's going to be the case. But for me, this is one of the better defenses the Lions have faced this year. We've seen them beat up on some bad defenses to be able to move the ball pretty well. But their 2 worst games on the season were versus the Patriots and the Cowboys, teams with good defenses. So the Jets have a good defense. I think they can give Jared Goff problems. This game is going to be outdoors in the cold as well. Jared Goff, coming from California, has not always fared well on the road in the cold. So I'm going to stick with the Jets pick here. And I like it better if it's shifted to the Lions being favored.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Jets too. I'm switching. I like talk myself into the Zach Wilson redemption song here on Detroit. Detroit's been rolling pretty strong here. They're due for a loss.
The bring Detroit back down to earth game.
Yeah, and Detroit has dreams of making the playoffs. They're on the outside looking in, but they're the closest one to get in. They're the 8th seed coming in. Any 7 seeds get into the playoffs. But the Jets are sitting right there in the playoff picture. They'll have a spot in the playoffs with the 7 wins, I believe they have. I wasn't looking at I don't have a schedule right up in front of me, but I believe they have 7 wins. And yeah, they do. And they're tied with New England at 7-6. So they're right there in the playoff hunt. They got to keep pace with New England, and also the Los Angeles Chargers, who have 7 wins. So basically, the 7-win teams are New England, the Jets. We should keep an eye on these guys for the next couple of weeks, right? New England's, the Jets, and the Chargers. They are sitting at 7 wins, and there's 2 spots, actually 1 spot for the 3 of them, because the Dolphins are sitting a game ahead, so they could come down if they lose to the Bills and be tied with whoever of those 3 win this week. And you also have Baltimore and Cincinnati tied with 9-4. So, we're kind of predicting if Baltimore loses this week, they would be at 9-5, just 1 game above some of these teams that are fighting for the last spot.
So the Jets need the win to stay in the playoff hunt. Long story short.
Yes, just breaking down the playoff spot picture. We got to start talking playoff picture.
Well, I know, but we still
concentrated a lot on that last year, and I think what we found is that the teams that needed the playoff wins really choked down the stretch.
We still
didn't win a lot of games.
We still
cover.
have 4 weeks left, so a lot can change in 4 weeks.
Well, I want to look at this trend, right? So we got to look and see what happens at the end of the week and call out on next podcast what happens between New England, the Jets, and the Chargers covering the spread. Because if the 3 of them don't cover, then we got to start looking for the choke artists coming into the final round of the couple weeks of the playoffs before the playoffs start.
All right, so we're both on the Jets there.
Yeah.
All right, so next game.
Long story short, Jets.
Okay, now we're moving into the Sunday slate.
All right.
We have the Kansas City Chiefs at the Houston Texans. The line is actually on FanDuel.
That game was Sunday. Detroit Jets, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
We continue to move along the Sunday.
Okay, so
why don't you tell me what Sunday games you want to play?
On FanDuel right now, this is actually moved up to minus 14.5. So last week we saw the Texans actually go like a dual quarterback approach with Davis Mills and Jeff Driscoll. They hung in the game with the Cowboys. They had a chance to win it at the end. Kansas City has yet again failed to cover versus the Broncos. So I definitely think Kansas City wins this game, but do you feel comfortable taking them at over 14? I don't.
No, I feel the same way about Houston this week that I did last week with playing against the Dallas Cowboys last week. They were the highest line. I think it was about 17 and a half, by the time it was kicked off. And they covered. They had a tight game, and they probably should have won that game. So I'm not expecting them to win the game, but I think they can at least keep it within 14 here against Kansas City. I'll take Houston.
Okay. All right. So next game is the Philadelphia Eagles at the Chicago Bears. The line is actually, I saw this. It went down. Now it's at -9 still. Okay. All right. So Fields was sick in the week earlier, but I think he's going to be okay. He'll play. Bears defense is pretty bad. So I think this game is really going to come down to how Fields fares against the Eagles defense. The Eagles do play Dallas next week. Micah Parsons had some comments that he made, I think, about whether Jalen Hurts is MVP material or if it's the team. So definitely some motivational comments there. We saw Fields throw a couple picks in garbage time in the last game they played against the Packers to fail to cover that game. So I'm a little torn on this one. I don't necessarily know with these damn Eagles, is it going to be a blowout like the past couple weeks, or can Justin Fields keep it close? But I think with the Dallas game next week, I would worry that they would take their foot off the gas and allow the Bears back into it. So I'm going to take the points with the Bears.
All right. I really wanted to take the Bears in this one as well. It smells like a trap game heading into Dallas week for the Eagles. But the thing that I'm starting to realize is that the Eagles are almost, the way the Eagles are designed, the way they're led by Jalen Hurts, steady Eddie, they're almost they're untrappable. I'm not saying they're not going to lose a game, but I don't think you have to worry about the trap effect looking ahead to Dallas.
Well, I don't think they're going to lose, but are they going to cover 9?
Yeah, exactly. So the trap into, a tight game, maybe a 3-point win, that would be the trap effect, right? I don't think they're going to lose this game either.
We saw a couple of those, so.
But I'll tell you this. The Eagles are 5-0 in their last 5 against the spread versus Chicago. I think they keep that trend going. I see this as at least a 10-point win. Easy if it stays under 9. It's a gift, I believe. So I look for the Eagles to kind of annihilate Chicago. This is a good defense, and they have shown that they can stop the running quarterback, and they have in the past games that they've played this year against running quarterbacks. So Justin Fields really the only threat there for Chicago, and I don't think he's going to pose much of a threat this week. I'll go Eagles and lay the points.
All right. Next game is the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Carolina Panthers. The line is at -3 in favor of the Panthers. Kenny Pickett, I guess, was concussed in the last game. So it will be either Mitch Trubisky or Mason Rudolph. There were reports that these guys split reps at practice, which I don't know if that's necessarily a good approach with these two guys. Like they probably need a full set of reps. But I don't think Tomlin liked the fact that Mitch Trubisky threw a couple picks in the end zone or in the red zone last week. I worry a little bit about Sam Darnold going up against the Steelers defense. That seeing ghost game is always going to stick with me when we're talking about Sam Darnold. But I think as long as the Panthers can run the ball, they'll be okay. Pittsburgh can get run on. So I really don't like taking the Panthers as a favorite. So I'm not necessarily saying I'm going to put my money on this game, but if I had to, I would go with the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one to really like a side. I don't really like a side here, especially given the fact that, Pickett's not going to be the quarterback. I think if Pickett was the quarterback, this is probably an easy Carolina win based on the way they're playing decent defense. But, I like the under here. I think that's the move. Take the under.
All right. Next game is the Dallas Cowboys at the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we saw Dallas really laid it on the Colts, but then struggled last week with the Texans. As I said before, Micah Parsons had some comments about the Eagles, so I definitely think they could be looking ahead to next week. And to me, the Cowboys really come down to Dak because he's thrown a lot of interceptions. He's allowed some of these other teams to hang around. People are really talking up Jacksonville after their win against Tennessee last week, but I don't know that Jacksonville won that game so much as Tennessee lost it. They had 3 brutal turnovers that resulted in 17 points. Doug Peterson is familiar with Dallas from his time as the Eagles head coach. Jags do have a shot after their win last week against the Titans. They have a shot at the division. It may be a long shot, but they do play the Titans again before the season ends. So I'm going to take the points with the Jaguars.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the Jaguars. This is my buck the trend game of the week. You wanted to hear what trends we're bucking? Because I got
sure
2
do.
of them.
Oh, man.
All right, for Dallas, they're 11-3 against the spread in their last 14 road games. 11-3. That's pretty strong against the spread. So we're going to buck that trend. But this is the big one, too. Jacksonville, 0-10. Their last 10 against the spread versus the NFC. So we're going to buck those trends. I believe Dougie P, you hit it on the head, is familiar with Dallas.
Yeah, the same
he
little
goes
thing
after
written down
Dallas. In his days from the Eagles, that was the bitter rivalry. So he's going to fire the boys up. I think they're going to come and take Dallas. Dallas got lucky. They dodged a bullet last week. They're not going to dodge this bullet. I would play it straight up and take the points.
Okay. Just play it straight up and take the money line.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're on the same side of that one. Next game is the Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints. Division game. These teams played back in week 1. Saints won that game 27-26. That would have been Jameis Winston as quarterback for the Saints. Falcons will be starting their rookie, Desmond Ridder. Interesting note is that I don't know who the backup's going to be, since you might want to consider that in making your pick.
Who, for Atlanta?
Yeah, because
It's Desmond
Mariota,
Ridder.
he's the starter.
Who the backup's going to be for him?
Yes, because Marcus Mariota is no longer with the team. Once they told him he wasn't going to be their quarterback,
He walked.
went home.
He had a
to
baby last week, and that's what
spend
the cover's
time
going
with
to be.
his family. So
He's done. He's made his millions.
I mean, that does
Move
concern
along.
me a little bit, because if Desmond Ridder goes in and throws 3 picks, then what do you do? Who are you putting in? But I don't know that Ridder necessarily changes the Atlanta offense very much. They obviously want to run the ball. So I don't know that he's much of a step down. Falcons are the team that always seems to find a way to cover these games. So I definitely also have 2 weeks to prepare, because they're coming off the bye. So they've had 2 weeks to get Ridder ready. So I'm taking the points with the Falcons.
The backup to Desmond Ridder, are you ready? Is the 2018
He was a Titan, wasn't he?
7th-round pick, number 249 from Cincinnati. Cincinnati drafted him out of Toledo. Logan Woodside, I give you.
All right. So
Yeah, and you're taking that shit?
Yeah, because I don't think it's much of a change. I mean, Mariota wasn't playing that good, right? And all they want to do is run the ball anyway. So
I mean,
just don't throw picks, and
that's the key
manage the
right there,
game.
dear. That is the key, because he's a rookie quarterback and this is his first start.
Well, look, here's
so
the
if you're
bottom
playing
line. As
anything
far
against
as
a good defense, which the Saints have been playing really good defense and exceptional
When?
defense at home.
last year,
13-0 against they had Tampa to 13. Let's get in here on some of these scores. Is that what you want to do?
no, not really.
Because I believe,
But
that
I don't think
they've
they're
played-
the defense that they have historically been.
No. But they're like listen, they've played like crap all year. They only got 4 wins, and they've got they had 17-16 against the Buccaneers, 13-0 against 49ers. They held the 49ers to 13. The Rams 27.
I think
is
you
not
have
really
that
strong.
backwards.
20. What?
The 49ers held.
Scored 13.
And what did the Saints score?
0.
Okay, so how are they they're holding? Okay.
13's not a lot there.
All right,
There's
but
17 the last 2 weeks.
they-
They've given up an average of 15 points.
Okay.
I digress. Would you like to continue
gave
to
up
argue
20
with me? Because
they
this
gave up
sounds like you want to bet
26
on this one. I
points
like the Saints.
the
baby.
first time
I
they
haven't liked
played.
Let's put it this way. I haven't liked the Saints all year. There's not been one game that I've picked the Saints. This is the week I want it. Come on, 20. This is the bet. You take Desmond Ridder and his sucky ass out of Cincinnati, his first pick, his first game, and I'll take Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket, for the first time this year, the New Orleans Saints. And believe me, I want the Saints to lose because I have vested interest with this first round pick
You
that they
have a
traded us
vested
for
interest.
to,
Oh, my
to
God.
the Eagles. I mean, we're sitting like the 5th pick overall right now.
I had something I was going to say. Now I forgot what it was.
5th pick and the last pick of the draft. Do you know that? You know why we would have the last pick of the
I don't
draft?
care.
Because the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. All right. I had another point I was going to make, and now I forgot what it was. So whatever. Moving on. All right.
I
So
talked you right out of your point. Wow.
next
I'm
game.
on fire today.
Next game
I mess your confidence all up.
is
Concentration.
the New England Patriots at the Las Vegas Raiders.
Come on, get together. We all know you're taking here. We all know you're taking here. Get it
You're
together.
making me angry.
Come on, woman.
Las Vegas Raiders. So this is this took the shift. It's at Raiders -1.5 currently. I felt like the Patriots were favored though before. So we have the master versus the student, Bill Belichick versus Josh McDaniel. Patriots offense hasn't really looked great. I don't know if Stevenson's going to play or not.
He looked doubtful, I think, when I saw.
Well, I think he's officially questionable.
Strong maybe is the backup.
He did practice. Well, I don't know about Damian Harris if he's playing. And there's another Harris. They got a lot of guys with the same last name on that team.
They've got 2 Harrises.
They have 4 Joneses.
Yeah, well, it's like there's leagues where I have the 2 Harrises, the guy from Pittsburgh and the guy from New England. That's crazy. It's like Harris.
Who'd have thought?
And I have the one team's called Allentown because I have 3 Allens.
I think it's more like 2.
Yeah.
Josh
See
and
the start.
Keenan. So Raiders, I think, are probably the more talented team. But they do find ways to lose the game. Belichick's underlings, when they've left and gone on to other jobs, have had success against him. Brian Flores, Mike Grable, even Matt Patricia, when he was with the terrible Lions, beat Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Raiders had 2 big wins with those overtime wins, and then the crushing loss last week to the Rams. So I am going to go with the Patriots here, but I'm a little less confident in it than I was initially.
It sounded like you were building a case to take the Raiders with the whole underlings.
Well, I thought it was worth mentioning.
The master, Belichick. Yeah, I think the move here is Josh McDaniels sucks. He's the worst. I can't wait till they fire him.
I guess the question is, who knows who better? Like, who gets the advantage there? Because Josh McDaniels was the one calling the offense when he was with the Patriots.
Yeah, I like New England. I think they go on the road here and they can get the win.
I guess you also have Matt Patricia, who was calling the defense when McDaniels was calling the offense, is now calling the offense for the Patriots. So maybe that works to their advantage.
They're right there in the playoff picture. This is a game historically for the last 20 years that Belichick wins. He's 7-6. He's fighting to get in the playoffs. This is like an automatic. There's not even a line to contend here. They're like 1-point favorites or 1-point dogs, whichever is going to be by the time Sunday gets here.
One other thing I will mention, because the Patriots played on the West Coast last week and they did stay on the West Coast, so they're not traveling back and forth.
Oh, very smart.
Well, that's Belichick for you.
Very smart.
All right, so next game is the Arizona Cardinals at the Denver Broncos. This was at -3 in favor of Denver. It's now down to 1.5 in favor of Denver. This will be a battle of the backups. Kyler Murray is out, so it will be Colt McCoy at quarterback for the Cardinals, and Russell Wilson is officially out as well. So it will be Brett Ripien at quarterback for Denver. The Denver defense worries me a little bit. I think Colt McCoy is generally a capable backup, but against this defense, I would be a little concerned. Ripien seemed to do okay when he came in for Wilson last week, but in the past, I don't know that he has played very well. So I am going to take the points with the Cardinals here. I would have liked it better if it stayed at 3, though.
Yeah, I don't have a real strong play here. I mean, I don't even want to give I was leaning towards Denver when I was looking at this earlier. But I don't feel confident, even though I don't like Arizona, with Denver being a 3-point favorite against anybody. So I'm laying off this game for sure.
Okay. All right. So next game is the Tennessee Titans at the Los Angeles Chargers. It's at -3 in favor of the Chargers. I honestly don't know what to do with this game. Titans did not look good last week. They came out fine. Henry was running the ball, and then they turned the ball over 3 times, and they're just not a team that's built to come back once they get down. It's a good matchup for Henry versus the Chargers' run defense, but Herbert on the other side has some firepower, and he has Mike Williams and Keenan Allen on the field. So it really comes down to how this game starts. If the Chargers get up, then I think Tennessee's done. But they have lost 3 straight games while they were in prime position at the top of the division. That lead is starting to falter. So I don't know. Chargers are not historically a team that covers the spreads. If they do win, it would be like a 1-point win. So I don't really feel confident taking either side, but I might see how the game starts and do some in-game betting on this one.
Yeah, I don't know how you can feel confident. I mean, even with the ebb and flow, I'm trying to make a case here for the Titans to come back, but going on the road all the way out to the Chargers after losing 3 in a row, I mean, it just seems like they lost to the Bengals, and then when you thought they were going to bounce back against the Eagles, they just got their heart taken from them with, A.J. Brown, and they didn't bounce back at all against the Jaguars at all. I mean,
they started out fine.
They started out fine, but when you turn the ball over, I mean, you can't turn the ball over against this Chargers team, and they're starting to get their weapons back. All 3 receivers are healthy. Eckler's looking good, and you're probably going to start to see the quarterback that we all thought we were going to see, in San Diego or wherever they're playing now, Los Angeles.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm torn. I mean, I would think the Titans going to lose a 4th game.
Yeah,
I mean,
are they really going to lose a 4th game? And this is the worry that I have is that I typically would take the Titans here, but I feel like the Titans are like done.
I don't know. I don't want to put too much stock in what happened last week because the game started out for them fine. I mean, you can't turn the ball over 3. They were brutal turnovers, like in the red zone turnovers.
But it's not just last week. It's the last.
Well, they got beat by the Eagles, but the Eagles are obviously a better team. It was the A.J. Brown revenge thing. The Bengals game,
they could not get Derrick Henry moving at all against the Eagles. The Eagles stuffed them like 30 yards.
Right, but the Jags couldn't do that.
Plan. Wow.
He had 100 and some yards in the first half, and then he just got scripted out of the game. He had 2 fumbles. So they played that trick play, and it was like a bad snap. So he fumbled that one. He had another fumble.
They lose this week, and Jacksonville beats Dallas. They're 1 game back. And
they play again
to make the playoffs.
Yeah, they play again. So
I'm gonna roll with the Chargers here. As long as especially this line stays under 3, I see 2.5. At home, I'll take. I think it's a 3-point game. I'll take San Diego.
Okay. I don't know. I'm going to have faith that my Titans can get it done. But
if the Titans don't win this game, just go against them the rest of the year. They're done. Stick a fork in them. Absolutely done.
All right. So next game is the Cincinnati Bengals at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The line is at -3.5. So we both got suckered into Tom Brady last week. I'm not going to make that mistake again. Watching Tom Brady and the Buccaneers play football at this point is just painful. It's absolutely painful to watch. So I'm going to take the Bengals, and I don't even mind the hook.
Yeah, so this is it, right? It's December.
You're not going to keep singing that song, are you?
This is it. You got to die on the sword here. I am not jumping off Tom Brady this week. This is the last week I'll ride with them. I want to go off of them because, like I was telling you earlier, Cincinnati is my team coming up. Like I have them, a couple weeks ago to win the division when they're a couple games behind Baltimore. So I'm hard charging on the Bengals. I like them a lot. I like their chances to get to the Super Bowl. But Tampa needs to win this game. They're done messing around. They're only one game.
They needed to win last week.
They're only one game up now on Carolina.
Week before.
Well, this is where, 2 weeks in.
How many games have they lost in a row at this point?
Tampa? It's been pretty ugly, man. They've only lost 1 in a row. I mean, they beat the Saints 17-16, remember?
Okay.
So it seems bad because
But before that.
Well, you got to remember, he keeps bringing them back. Even those games that felt like losses, he would bring them back until like 2 seconds left to win the game. Seattle, they won 21-16, right? The Rams, they won 16-13. I think they were losing that game the whole time.
Yeah.
They did lose to the Browns. So basically, they lost last week to the Niners. They beat the Saints the week before that. The week before that, they lost to the Browns. Then they won 2 games before that.
Seattle.
Before that is what you're thinking. They lost 3 games in a row to the Steelers, the Panthers, and the Ravens. 2 of those are AFC teams, so it doesn't hurt them. I mean, it's dumb luck here. They lose 3 weeks in a row, and 2 of them are the AFC teams. So, it hurts them less in the standings because you're not giving up a win against an NFC team.
What's the rest of their division? Like, how far ahead are they of anybody else in that division?
They're only 1 game up on Carolina.
Wow.
Yeah, the records are Tampa Bay's at 6-7, Carolina's at 5-8, so they're 1 game back. Also at 5-8 is Atlanta, so that's why it's so surprising that they took the route they did. They got frustrated with Mariota. You would think, and that's stupid. I mean, listen, this is how stupid Arthur Smith is. You're going to ride with Mariota the entire season, right? And the week that he has a baby, you're going to bench his ass?
Well,
Do you know how many times in sports, you probably are unaware of this, but there's so many times in sports where a father has a baby, even takes a leave of absence like a day or two, especially now as, recent. It's more common for teams to give the player a couple days. And then they come back on fire. They're rejuvenated. They just got the touch of life in their hand that they just so pumped up that they just helped give birth to a baby that they go out there and they play their asses off. And Atlanta, it would have been a great story. They got a couple of games left. Just run with Mariota. You ran with him this whole fucking season. Just keep going with him.
Well, I'm sure the bye week had something to do with that.
I'm telling you, the baby thing, it's a thing. It's definitely a thing where so many situations where, especially in baseball, what happens in football too, where a proud papa comes and tears it up.
Well, I don't know when she had the baby. I mean, I'm not saying she might not have
she
had
it after the Pittsburgh game.
Okay. All right.
So, I mean, she literally had it after the last loss. So this is the direct momentum that you would have been coming in with against the Saints, against Saints, Ravens, Cardinals, Buccaneers. You can win all 4 of those games. You're not going to win it with this chump of a rookie. This guy might end up being the next Joe Montana, but he's not going to be Joe Montana in the next 4 games of the season.
Well, look, I mean, I think in the past, like I've always taken the approach like, oh, a backup quarterback start and take the other team. But we've seen this season especially, a lot of these guys come in and play fairly well. Like look at Brock Purdy. I mean, he's a 3rd string quarterback. So
yeah, look at Brock Purdy. It's pretty insane.
I mean, and we've seen other guys. I mean, Colt McCoy is capable. I mean, there's plenty of capable guys coming in. Kenny Pickett had got off to maybe a little bit of a rough start, but he kind of rounded into form a little bit. So I don't know. Anyway,
back to Tampa, right? This is the game we're talking about, the Bengals in Tampa. We went on a tangent about Atlanta.
I don't even know. How did we get back to Atlanta?
So back to Tampa Bay here. This is my second buck the trend of the game of the
You
the
love
week.
the buck the trend and the Atlanta. Oh, we're not talking
about Atlanta. We're trying to move away from Atlanta, but for some reason, Mariota's not even playing, and we're talking about it for 5 minutes. Mariota's out. He's MIA. He left the team. He's done. Back to Tampa. They're at home against the Bengals. I like this as the second buck the trend game of the week. Okay, what trends are we bucking? I'm going to buck 2 of them for you again on this one. This is a two-shot week 14, is it?
15.
Week 15, is it?
Okay.
All right, Tampa Bay's 1-9-1 against the spread in their last 11 games. All right, we're going to buck that with a cover. The other trend we're bucking is Cincinnati's 5-0 in their last 5 against the spread. So the stats are lined up against Tampa. They're going to buck the trend. They need to get the win to secure the division and the playoff spot. I look for Tampa to start getting it together. You got to remember these receivers are getting back healthy, and the line hopefully has got to get it together. And you just pray that the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, will get his shit together and start winning games.
But I mean, do you honestly feel
this is the last week, Jaclyn, that I'm on Tampa?
After watching...
No, he looks like shit, but listen, they were not clicking the first season all the way up until the second week of December.
Week 9.
And then they ran to the Super Bowl. So I'm not saying that they're going to run to the Super Bowl this year, but if he gets hot, they got a shot too.
Well, they have a shot, but I don't know. I'm not going to make that mistake again.
This is since his last loss of the season before the playoffs too, by the way.
All right. So next game is the New York Giants at the Washington Commanders. It's at -4.5 in favor of the Commanders. This is a division game. These teams actually played 2 weeks ago. It ended in a 20-20 tie. Washington, since that game went into their bye week, Giants got pummeled by the Eagles. I was back and forth on this a little bit. Initially, just looking at the last game, 20-20, like 4.5 points is a weird line, I think. So I was initially feeling like I was going to take the points. But with Washington having 2 weeks to prepare after just having played the Giants having to play the Eagles last week, I'm going to go with Washington. Daniel Jones is actually 4-1-1 versus Washington in his career, but he is winless in prime time. So I think the Commanders win. I don't like the 4.5, but I'm going to take it anyway.
I mean, they're 1-4-1 in their last 6. I'd look for every reason to take the Giants here. I can't do it. Even at the 4.5 point line, I feel like Vegas is bumping that line up to make you take them. They just played, the last time that Washington played, they played the Giants and tied them, right? So the problem here is that it's 4.5. People are going to look like that's a healthy line to take the Giants since they just tied. I look for the Commanders to win this game by probably 2 touchdowns.
I don't know if I would go that far, but hopefully by 7 points.
The Giants are getting a little more healthy than they were last week. They're getting some guys back there. James, the receiver, was hurt towards the end of the game last week, but he's a go.
Well, you got Richie James guys on the field. You're good to go.
Yeah, so I'm not really worried about it. That's my point. He's like, that's their big guy that's coming back healthy.
Don't forget to move Ernie.
Yeah, Ernie the elf.
All right.
Ernie the elf alarm, so we don't forget.
So last game on the card this week is the Los Angeles Rams at the Green Bay Packers. This line is at -7 in favor of Green Bay. Green Bay is coming off the bye week. We saw Baker Mayfield start for the Rams in the last game and make a comeback victory with the help of a couple penalties, but that's neither here nor there. We've seen the Rams be competitive defensively in these last few games. They gave Seattle a run for their money, and Seattle failed to cover a 7-point spread 2 weeks ago. They actually beat the Raiders last week. So I'm not counting the Rams out of this game. I would assume that everybody will be on Aaron Rodgers in this primetime spot. So like I always do with these primetime games, I'm going to see where the money is. But I'm leaning towards the Rams on this one to cover.
Yeah, I mean, I like Green Bay. I don't think Baker Mayfield's going to have this kind of success 2 in a row. So I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers, at home Monday night. I look for Aaron Rodgers to really just give it to the Rams here. It's not even going to be close. So if this line's, under 10, I would definitely take the Packers.
Okay, we're on opposite sides of that one. All right, so remember, if you're watching, like, subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment. Anybody can comment. Tell us who you're taking.
Right now, who do you think is, real quick before we go, who are your favorites to go to the Super Bowl in both conferences?
Now, I don't know who's NFC,
just off the top
AFC.
of your head. Well, give me a team you like.
San Fran. I like San Fran a lot.
In the NFC, right?
San Fran's going
And who
from
are they
the NFC.
Who are they going to play in the AFC?
I just told you I don't know who's where.
All right, you got
I have to
Bills, you
think
got
this
Bengals,
through.
you got Chiefs.
Bills.
You like Bills? So Bills, San Fran. All right, I like the Bills or the Bengals coming out of the AFC. I also like the Dolphins.
I think the Dolphins are done.
I like only the Eagles. So it'll be the Eagles against either Cincy, Dolphins. If Dolphins can get their shit together, I look for them after this week to make a run. But the Bills look strong. If the Bills get to the Super Bowl, they will win.
What if they get to the Super Bowl against the Eagles?
They will win. Football gods are with the Buffalo Bills if they get to the Super Bowl. But they have to get there.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us for week 15. We got through 15 games in less than 45 minutes.
Peace out.
Peace out.
Beat you to it.